It makes peak power at 14,000 RPM. Most cars are screaming for mercy at 6,000 RPMs. This thing is just getting it started at 6,000 RPM. This is the latest generation of the Honda CBR600, and it has one unique thing that none of the other bikes in this class has, and in my opinion, puts it ahead of the competition. Now, I've been an avid motorcycle rider for better part of 20 years. And something that I've noticed is the 600 Super Sport class is the most underestimated motorcycle of all time. People look at it like, oh, it's only a 600cc, it's not that big. My Harley's a 2000cc. You know, my Harley's way bigger. All these bikes are way bigger engines. When it comes to motorcycles, it's not about the size of the engine, it's about what the engine was designed for. It's a 600cc inline 4-cylinder, and here's the first thing you've got to understand about it, because it explains everything else. And that is that this engine is not like a normal automobile engine. This engine is unlike most other motorcycle engines out there. And in many ways, they're trying to phase out motors like this. This doesn't have any real power until you get to the top end of the RPMs. 11,000 RPMs is when it starts kicking in. Anything below that, you almost feel like there's something wrong with the bike. It's got a red line around 15.5, which is insane. I thought this bike was supposed to be fast. It is fast, but you gotta learn how to ride it fast. Look at that tachometer, thing engine. But the thing is, that's the whole personality of the 600cc Super Sports. They're almost polite at the low RPMs. It's mediocre at the middle RPMs. But once you get to that power band, it is a full-on race bike. Hold on, the front wheel's coming up, you're having a blast. Now you might think, now that's not ideal for the street, but to be honest, nothing about this motorcycle is ideal for the street. Low speeds, it's kind of hard to maneuver. This seat on the back is not really made. I mean, look at it. You telling me that this feels ergonomically correct to have someone back here sitting on the bike like this? So you're sitting like this, she's sitting like this, and the guy driving is riding like this. That makes her a windsill. There's nothing ergonomically streetable about these things. It actually kind of blows my mind that these are illegal on the street, which is why they're so awesome. But no, these bikes are through and through track bikes. These are race bikes. And it makes sense that the RPMs are that high, because when you're doing a track, other than the start, you're not going slow. You're not going 20 miles an hour around a corner. You're going, 60 miles an hour. So you can always maintain to be in the mid and high RPM, so you're always in the power band. But there is something very fun and very exhilarating about a good old-fashioned classic 600 Super Sport. And to be honest, they're kind of getting phased out. The high-strung 600cc inline 4 Super Sport is kind of a dying breed. Most of the other manufacturers have quietly killed theirs off because of emissions, or the market is kind of changing. And everyone's chasing these parallel twin middleweight naked bikes, like the MT-07, which is an awesome bike. Don't get me wrong, I love that bike. It's a ton of fun. In many ways, makes more sense on the street. But the fun on that bike is 0 to 70. That's the range. The fun on this bike is 50 to 150. That's the range. But I mean, it's gone so far that the 600s are dying off, that Yamaha completely stopped selling them. Yamaha in 2020 stopped selling the Yamaha R6. You can buy a Yamaha R6 race, and I think it's the GYTR version, but it's just track only. So the fact that Honda is still holding on is still pretty awesome. Now, to really understand the CBR600RR, you have to kind of go back and learn where it came from. It first started with the Hurricane, and then the F2, then the F3, then the F4, and then the F4i. The F4i was the first one that was fuel injected. That's what the I stands for. Then in 2003 to 2004 was the Gen 1 CBR600RR. Then 2005 to 6 was Gen 2, and then 2007 to 12 was Gen 3. You're not gonna believe this, but 2013 till right now is the latest generation of the CBR600. Yes, they've really not changed this thing at all, other than a few minor things that are irrelevant and color schemes. They've not changed this bike for 13 years. Now you might be thinking, Sean, what are they doing? Like, they're just being lazy. This is crazy. They're making the same bike for 13 years. But to be honest with you, that's not that uncommon in the motorcycle industry. Look at the 250 Kawasaki Ninja. They made that exact same bike from 1987 to 2007. 20 years. Look at the DRZ400. Not only the exact same bike, but it was still carbureted up to a few years ago. They made that same bike for 2.5 decades. So kind of the method is with motorcycles is if it's still getting sales, you might as well keep on selling it. Now, to be honest, I don't think they're selling that many of these bikes. I think a lot of people have the trend is kind of left. In the mid 2000s, they were huge. They were making new ones every couple years, spending money on it, and they were selling. Sales have kind of dropped on these bikes, and I don't really understand why, other than, I don't know, kids are into e-bikes or something. But I like that Honda is keeping it alive. And it's not costing them any money to redesign it. They just keep on making the same bike. I'm cool with that. I think it's a beautiful bike. It also has a feature on this bike that none of the other 600 Super Sports have, and some of the 1000s don't even have. It's HESD. It stands for, hey everybody, see this? And I'm like, yeah, I see this. It actually stands for Honda Electronic Steering Damper. And where everyone else uses a mechanical one. And let me explain what's going on here. A steering damper is for, and I said dampener for the longest time. I don't care what you say, who cares? It's these stupid English majors that want to try to correct you when you say something wrong. What this does is when you're at slow speeds, it doesn't stop you. It gives you no resistance. Now the steering dampener is connected to the computer. It knows how fast you're going, and it knows it's got a bunch of different data points. And the faster you go, the tighter it gets. And that's what it's made to stop like of your high speed and speed wobble. So it's a dynamic steering damper that pulls back and is barely doing anything at slow speeds, which is perfect, and then steps up at the real high speeds. So it's the same thing as if you were holding the adjuster on a manual changing steering dampener, and you were changing it as you go, but hundreds of times a second. What it's saving you from is adjusting it. So if you're on the track, you crank it up real hard because you're gonna go real fast, but then when you come into pits, you can barely turn the thing because you have it cranked up real high.
This is a beautiful bike.
It is a nice looking bike. That has a steering dampener inside here.
Does it really? Oh,
and
right
this, I know the 1000s had them, but I wasn't unaware that the 600s had them. Pretty cool.
Go get yourselves a new Honda, fellas.
Go buy a new Honda. See you later, Craig.
See you guys.
So one, you're saving about $500 to $600 of putting a steering damper on your bike. Two, it's the best one you could possibly buy on the market. I'm a pretty big fan of Honda. They're generally late to the game with a lot of their stuff, but when they build one, it's oftentimes the best one out there. And the other thing about it is, if you're gonna play the numbers game with the Honda motorcycles, they normally don't put out the best horsepower numbers, but oftentimes they're putting down the best track times because the whole bike is such a dialed in package. Oh, this one might have more horsepower, but can you keep it to the ground? Is it as balanced? Does it feel as well? Now, when it comes to 0 to 60, this bike is not slow. It's faster than the Hellcat, it's faster than the 911, and it's faster than the Audi R8. Now, 3.3 seconds in the 0 to 60. We're gonna go try it out when we do our test drive, see how fast I can do it. Well, I'll explain more about how to launch these things 0 to 60. It's kind of uncomfortable. If you want to compare power to what you got, you're paying around $12,000 for this motorcycle. A little different from the ABS version versus, I think it's $1,000 ABS version versus non-ABS version. In 2026, you got one color option, and that is this color. And if you think, oh, I'm gonna go spec it out online and change a bunch of stuff, there's no options. You can get a bike cover, and then you can get a slightly different style windscreen. It's pretty much the way you see it is the way it comes. So I've ridden all the bikes. I do like the Honda 600 and the 1000. They're definitely top on my list. It's got a little compartment back here for your seat. That's your luggage rack. I did find out that I was able to keep my sunglasses. My sunglasses fit nicely in there, and you can put the seat back on. You can put a lot of stuff back here. You can squish a sandwich really low. You can put at least 7 pieces of paper back here. It comes in a toolkit. It's got a fuse puller. And this is, I think, a helmet lock. But yeah, it's not gonna come with a toolkit. Like I said, this is a race bike. I think this is cool. Like, let's all not complain about this. It's a race bike that you can drive on the street. That's pretty cool. But it's gonna come with things. It's not gonna come with toolkits when you do stuff like that. Since the RR version, not the F4 or none of those versions, they've been rocking the Undertale exhaust. It's a really clean look. Some people might say, now you might hear like in the summertime it gets hot around the seat. I've never noticed it. If anything, it's great in the wintertime, but I don't notice it in the summer. Everything else is hot too. But it makes it really clean. It makes it a really clean look where you have no exhaust coming out anywhere else. Another minor change I did was the 12 spoke wheels. I think it's a really sharp looking wheel. It's a 599cc inline 4, pushing out close to 115 horsepower. And it weighs in at just under 420 pounds, which is pretty light for a completely stock, you know, 600. So if you ride motorcycle and don't carry a tire inflator with you, you're kind of playing with fire. I've been stranded on the side of the road before with a slow leak, no shop in sight, and 0 options. So when Fantic reached out and they sent us out their new X10 Pro, I was actually pretty interested in it. This thing can inflate a 15-inch tire from 30 PSI to 33 PSI in 35 seconds. That's faster than most plug-in air compressors at your home. And it's the size of a water bottle. It can fit in your saddlebag or your glove box. Now here's the part I really like about it. You don't push the button to turn it on. You just pull the hose out, set your pressure, hook it up, walk away. Walk away, and then it stops by itself, hands-free, no babysitting. It's got preset modes for motorcycles, bikes, cars, even basketballs for kids. Big bright screen, so you can actually read it. And this one battery would do a motorcycle tire somewhere around 78 times on a single charge. It's not one of those things that you charge up, and then one time you need it, it's dead. This thing's pretty much always ready to go. If you ride or drive, you need one of these. Fantic is running a big Prime Day sale right now. Get 16% off a Fantic X10 Pro portable tire inflator using code Srkcycles10. Just scan the QR code or click right here in the link below. Now the only way to really tell you guys about how it feels to ride one of these things, let's go ride it. All right guys, where's the wisdom for today? What is this? 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. Every day. You gotta consider every day a good day when you get to ride a motorcycle. So there's a school of thought that's like, oh, 600s are the smaller ones. They're not really physically smaller than the 1000s. It's just a smaller engine. Still super powerful and more than what anyone really needs on the street. I'm 6'2". I feel pretty comfortable on these bikes. I know guys who are a lot too taller than me. They still jump on them. If you want to get an actual bigger frame bike, you got to go Hayabusa or ZX14. But everything else is gonna feel pretty much similar to this. The other funny thing about when people ride these is you know, if you're used to a Harley or something different, or something, let's be honest, a bike that's not very. If you're used to a bike that's not very fast and you jump on one of these, sometimes the guys come back like, man, that thing's fast, and it's like, well, what RPM did you hit? Man, I hit like 7,000 RPMs, and at that point, it's like, you didn't even get to the power. There's no power up into there. We'll actually, once we get on, I'll show you where the power band is and how drastic it is. Nothing, all of it. So the cool thing about when a manufacturer continues making the same thing for a long time, that gives a lot of people in a lot of different price ranges to enjoy basically the same thing. So let's say you want to buy one of these. You can probably buy a used one, you know, with 20,000 miles, someone else, you know, beat up a little bit. You can probably buy a used one for 45. Or if you like that bike so much and you're like, man, I really want to buy a brand new one, you can go buy a brand new one. So let's talk about who this bike is for and what this bike is for. I don't think this bike is for the people who oftentimes ride them. This is a track bike. If it were up to me, I would, I would ban these bikes from kids who are less than 25. Anyone who's less than 25 is like, hey Sean, that's awful, that's super dumb. Anyone who's older than 25 is like, hey Sean, it's a great idea, you're a genius. You know why people less than 25, it's almost impossible, it's very unlikely for them to have a really, really, really fast car? Because really, really fast cars are expensive. And you know, there's a barrier of entry. When you're young, you probably don't have any money. I would never give my son a really, really fast car. Even though it's super cool, even though when you're a kid, that's all you want. Dad, I want a fast car. I would never do it because I actually love my sons and my daughter. And I think it would hurt, it would be dangerous for them. I've seen it, I have no friends that have died. The problem with motorcycles, and the awesome thing about motorcycles, is that they are incredibly fast and they are incredibly cheap. You can buy a bike like this brand new for $13,000. Any clown who works at, you know, McDonald's can probably go get a loan to buy something like this. But you need to have a very rational and healthy fear of the motorcycle. Also, it's not a first bike. I've said this before, this is kind of what I say. This is a very bad first bike because you don't want to be the guy, that's a good first bike, little 250 Ninja or 300 Ninja, whatever. You want to learn how to ride a motorcycle first. Honestly, I think one of the best bikes is a bike like that, 250, 300, a 400, the R3. Those are awesome, really, really, really awesome entry-level bikes for young riders. Watch the power band. There. It's very smooth, very gradual, but at a certain point it just starts screaming, and that's where you're getting max horsepower at 14,000 RPMs. So that's kind of where you when you're racing, you're always going to be at higher RPMs. So these are awesome track bikes. Like, this is the track bike, and you can be a beginner, you can be an advanced rider, and still have the ton of fun on this. A moment that was pretty, you know, it changed the way I thought about things was back when I was doing track days. I did a couple track days. I'm not a professional racer, nothing like that. But I was faster than most of the guys in the middle category. And what I realized when I got passed by a guy riding a 390, and I was passing guys on 1000s because they really didn't know how to handle their bike, that's fine. But I got passed by a guy on a 390, and I was watching him just pass everybody. And he was hanging in a pack with a bunch of leader bikes. And that shifted in my mind where, oh, okay, I don't need a faster bike. Chances are you never need a faster bike. You need to become a better rider. And that's why I love seeing guys start on smaller bikes, becoming good riders, learning how to use them. Race car drivers don't start on race cars. They start on a lot of them start on go-karts. So they start on something where you really learn. You're not just trying to control the power the entire time. What people don't realize is that riding motorcycles and riding sport bikes, it's not an adrenaline junkie sport. It can't be. Like an adrenaline junkie, you can only spike your cortisol. You can only spike your adrenaline for moments at a time. It can't just stay there. So that's why when you're racing motorcycles or doing track days or really getting into it, it's more of a dance and less of a extreme spike your, just like non-stop, like everything's crazy and everything, horrifying. It's not like jumping out of an airplane, which I've never done before, but I can imagine. So second, and the way I feel about it is, if you know how to ride a motorcycle, that's a nice looking Mustang. If you know how to ride a motorcycle, this is a very awesome second bike. Because now you can learn, you know what to do, you know how to ride the bike, you know the mechanics of it. Now you can really start dialing in and become a good motorcycle rider. And you can enjoy the power at hopefully a smarter and more skilled level. Also, when it comes to performance, when it comes to cornering and handling, at speeds, nothing beats this. Let's try a 0 to 60. Let's see if we can do a good 0 to 60. Now, when you're doing a 0 to 60 on a bike like this, it's very, very uncomfortable, and I'll tell you why. There. A little slow. We'll try another one up here. It's very uncomfortable because you're dumping the clutch at 11,000 RPM. You're dumping the clutch at a very, very high RPM. It's loud. You know you're accessing all the power at that moment. And then you're kind of feathering the clutches a little bit. Which is, you know, so either your concern is that the tire's gonna, you know, break traction and you're gonna do a burnout, which you don't want to do. That does not help you go faster. Or you worst case scenario, you do get traction and then you loop it out. These don't have that much power. It's hard to do that, but it does feel like it's gonna do that. But you gotta feather it a little bit. We'll see if I can do a better 0 to 60 up here. Man, but hitting a bike like this with good tires, it's really, really hard to beat. Now on small, tighter turns, a Supermoto is gonna be right there next to you. But on big, long, sweeping turns where you need power. So I think I mentioned something about it earlier, but let's compare a bike like this to something like an FC07. FC07 on the stuff that I'm doing right now is gonna be right there with me. It's got all the power, but those bikes kind of stop being fun or even comfortable or safe at 80 miles an hour. This bike starts feeling comfortable. All right, let's try it again. There. I don't really have the, I don't really get an instant feedback to see what my times are, so I'm not sure how to improve or what to improve on. But I ride Harley Davidsons. I love my Harley Davidsons. And there's different configurations. I got a Charlie horse on my leg. There's different configurations of motorcycles that just feel comfortable at different speeds. These bikes don't feel comfortable at all going slow. Like, it really doesn't. It's almost, they're sometimes hard to ride. They barely turn. But they're not made for that. There's some bikes that feel really comfortable going slow. What these bikes feel comfortable at, and this sounds crazy, but where these bikes feel comfortable at, it's at speeds that other bikes where you would be horrified. I'd be so scared doing 150 miles an hour on most of the motorcycles that are inside my shop. Like, I think I got about 100 right now. Most of those bikes, I'd be horrified. I wouldn't even do it. I'd be like, nah, I ain't doing this. I'd stop way before. This bike feels comfortable the whole way up until you run out of power. And I'm talking comfortable. You tuck down in, it feels perfect, and you just want to keep on going faster and faster. Which is why, you know, if you give a kid a Ford Fusion, he can go fast. He can go fast speeds with it, but he can't go maybe he can go 100 miles an hour, 110. I don't know what they top out at. they can't go that fast. They're just not that powerful, and it's not going to feel that comfortable going fast. He's going to know, the laws of engineering are going to start kicking in and be like, hey, this doesn't feel safe. He's going to pull back. You give a kid a Ferrari that is made to go 180, or a Corvette, man, there's something to say. There's something to be said about just feeling comfortable going those speeds, and that's why these bikes are dangerous. The safest way to use one of these bikes really is the track. If you when I ride on back roads, I made a kind of commitment to myself, also to my family. I didn't tell them this, but I'm 75%, maybe 80% at most. But you have to do that, because it's really dumb to treat a back road like it's your racetrack. Talk to anyone who's actually fast, and they will tell you the same thing. I know people have died. A lot of people have died. There's too many variables. There's animals. You see people cross the yellow line. There's other cars. There's too much. These are non-prepped stuff. You always have to hold back when you're on the street, which is still fun. You can still have tons of fun on the street. Another cool thing about these super sport bikes is these are the best. Nothing will outbrake. There's no motorcycle on the planet, as far as I know, that will outbrake a good rider on a super sport. And generally, the 600cc's are lighter. They have amazing brakes. They have amazing suspension. I'm not even sure if a 1000 could outbrake it. Obviously, a bike that was modified would be slightly better. Let's say you want to modify this bike. Hey Sean, what's the greatest modification you could do on one of these bikes? Well, if you actually want to go fast, there's two ways of looking at fast. There's straight line fast, and everyone's good at straight line fast. It's really easy to go 20 to 150 very fast. That's easy. Where that gets hard to do, where being fast is hard, is launching is hard, and being fast in corners is hard. If you want to be fast in corners and go to a track and actually like, hey, that dude's fast, spend all your money on suspension. Forget power commanders, forget exhaust, forget all these stupid things that everyone's talking about. Quick shift is actually a really cool modification, but not really needed. There's no guy who's like, oh, he was slow and now he has quick shift, now he's fast. It does make you a little faster though. Suspension, get your suspension dialed in, modified to your specific weight. That's where you're going to save the most amount of time. Now, if you want to be faster on the street, a pretty good mod, and I do like this mod, that would be changing the gears. So you have two sprockets. You have the big sprocket on the back. You got a front sprocket, a little small one. Jump on the forum, see what people are doing for that bike. But some combination of a couple teeth in the front, a couple teeth in the back, either up or down. They're changing the sprockets where you bringing your power down, so your top speed is not 160 now, and maybe it's 150, so you lost 10 miles an hour. Hopefully you're not going those speeds on the straight, but you gain a lot of power. You gain a lot of power at the low end, and you gain a lot of power at the mid, and it really wakes the bike up, and it makes a pretty big difference. Exhaust, whatever. I think exhaust is a waste of money. I don't need to be loud. I enjoy this. I'm cruising. The bike is quiet. I hear the air. I'm not disturbing the neighbors. I'm not drawing. Here's the big thing. I'm not drawing extra attention to myself. I don't need any of that stuff. So I think exhaust, everyone wants to spend money on exhaust. Not my thing. Exhaust really doesn't make you any faster. Guys, if you like this video, consider watching this video right up here. Maybe you'll like this one. Remember, it is not what you're riding, but where you're going. We'll see you guys next time.